text are so impersonal. Email is almost dead. Email's like, that's going to be like the fax machine,
Yeah.
in a few years. And it's text and it's other forms of communication that will replace text. But I think nothing can be replaced by that human contact. And, and sometimes it's Zoom like this, or where it can be not only a communication device, but a transportation device.
Welcome back to the Intelligent Conversations podcast. Today, I have the honor to learn from Mark Murphy. Mark is the CEO of Northeast Sequoia Private Client Group. He's passionate about empowering entrepreneurs get on a path to multi-generational wealth by also keeping other aspects of their life in mind. Mark is third in the nation on the 2023 Forbes America's Top Financial Security Professionals list. Mark and I had a great conversation, and he shared great points on establishing great relationships and being your true self. I don't want to take anything else away from this. Mark was fantastic in this. So without further ado, let's welcome Mark to the show. I'm excited because I like the approach that you took where it's not just finances with you, right? Like your team, you seem to focus on other aspects. Like, yes, you want to set aside money and create wealth, but there's other aspects to that. So I'm kind of curious, how do you get to that? Like, what was that moment where you're like, hey, there's more to this than just money?
Well, I mean, it just became clear to me that I never really tried to, as Albert Einstein used to say, don't focus on being successful, focus on creating value. And so what I kept seeing is that there was so much in the financial services industry that was just a commodity. It was just a pure commodity in terms of they were providing the same kind of pablum kind of advice that you could get anywhere. And then there was another group of people that were playing in more rarefied air, where they did some sophisticated things and some more sophisticated planning, and that kind of puts you in a sort of a stratosphere of, but there were still other people that could do it. And then what you started to really realize is that if you ask people what they wanted, if you ask them the kind of life they want, if you ask them what they wanted for their kids or their grandkids or for their business or for their families, they'd start to open up and tell you. And even the ones that didn't really think about that, you started to get them to start to think about that and help them develop a plan and a strategy for their life. And the idea is that was a game changer. It was in our business, it was a game changer because I'm not afraid to be different. I'm afraid to be the same. And I think the other thing is you wanted to play in a competition-free zone where the only place that client could get that experience is by working with us. And then, you talk about your, podcast, Intelligent Conversations. That was the essence of what we did, is when you're doing that kind of work, you're creating intelligent conversations all day, as opposed to a hammer looking for a nail, just doing sort of that kind of same pablum planning, and the relationships change. And then on top of that is when you transform the lives of the people you work with, it's even better because you create these incredible experiences where you're really bonded to the people and you're creating these relationships that I just treasure for not for months or years, but for decades.
And you probably get to see their progress as well, right? Like because it takes time to build up, especially where you were talking about with finances. It takes time to build up wealth. So you kind of get to see the progress of them developing not only their lifestyle, but them as a person as well, I bet. I'm sure you've seen that. And so what's kind of your process then? I mean, you kind of sit them down and...
Well, I think it's a pretty simple process. You want to sit back and, I try not to make it more complicated than it is. I want an hour or so to find out how they think about their business or their money or their family or their life or all the things that are important to them. And then I think at the end of that, first meeting, we'll ask them for a little bit of information. And then you want to have a meeting that might go an hour and a half or a little longer, where you'll lay out in that second meeting some comments and some recommendations, but a clear strategy going forward. No obligation on our part, no obligation on their part. But I think at the end of that second meeting, it's clear whether we should have a relationship or not. And as I said, we've done this for a long time, and it seems to work, 100% of the time or more. And it's really just trying to to help them design a plan to have the life they want. And it's almost like a process. You call yours intelligent conversations. I always say whoever asks the best questions wins. And it's a process of powerful questions in helping people really discover, who they are and who they want to be.
That's something I find as well, is from what I'm understanding, you want to build out, you're asking people what their dream is, essentially. Like, hey, what do you envision yourself in 10, 20, 30 years or whatever it may be? So I'm kind of asking this, how do you, right, we have to ask these great questions, but how do we construct, I guess, these great questions to kind of get to the bottom of this, to figure out, hey, what is my dream? Like, what is it that I want?
I think also part of it is it's education. For us, we're dealing mostly with entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial thinking people. And the thing, Josh, we keep finding is that a lot of people who own businesses think they're entrepreneurs, but they've really bought themselves a job. They're still getting paid for what they do rather than what they know. And I think ultimately what you want to do is you want to expose people to what's possible and what can happen, because I think an awful lot of people have put self-imposed restrictions around them based on what they know. And if they're exposed to what's possible, then the world's their oyster and everything is possible. And it's not about where they are, it's where they could be. And I think one of the things that I feel we do reasonably well is, you have to see people where they are. You have to see people you can't have like rose-colored glasses or be Pollyannish and say, call a lemon lemonade, if it's not. But at the same time, you also want to see people at their highest possible potential, almost to a place where they believe in themselves so viscerally, or you believe in them so viscerally, that they start to believe it in themselves, that it's possible, that almost that where they could possibly go. And once you could do that, it's so freeing and exhilarating for people to kind of dream about not only what is, but what could be. And to me, that's the ability to change the lives of all the people that we touch.
That's an exciting thought. It really is. Like what could be. And if anything, that's what keeps me going every day. It's like, well, this could be this. Like, if you just keep going at this. So this is something I find, when's the point to like pivot and try something new, or to stick with it? Because I get like mixed responses where it's like, you need to recognize like, hey, something's not working. You need to pivot, right? But then there's also situations where it's like, look, if you just stick with this a little longer, this may pan out for you. Like, how do you kind of gauge those two?
Well, I've always believed that failure is just another form of market research. And that for the most part, that, every time I failed, that was just one step closer to success. So that's a mindset, that's an entrepreneurial mindset that we have. But I think part of it is, it all starts by telling the truth. And I think where you're at is, you don't want to double down on failure, meaning, at the end of the day, like sometimes people will, put so much effort and energy or money into something that they blindly just continue to, sink good money after bad, or sink good time after, after bad time. And I think that's why part of it, that's sort of the role, or one of the roles we play, is to be able to sit down and really analyze and help them analyze, is the direction that they're going the right direction? We're just this close to success, or the rule of holes. The number one rules of holes is, if you're digging a hole, stop digging. That's the first. That's the first rule of holes. And so I think that part of that is, that's why you have to have an experienced team around you. And I think a lot of folks, especially entrepreneurial folks, often are not as collaborative as they need to be. And I think that ultimately, you got to trust your gut. You have to. The difference I always say between a boy and a man, or a girl and a woman, is when you realize that nobody's there to save you. But at the same time, you also want to have. At the same time, you want to be able to have the very, very best advice and advisors around you that I think that every entrepreneur, if you were a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you'd have your own board of directors. If you own an entrepreneurial firm, who's your board of directors? And the other thing is, are you also open to constructive advice? I've founded a lot of private equity companies. I've sat on the board of private equity companies. And I will tell you that one of the differences that ultimately it's the decision of that entrepreneur to make that decision good or bad. But I found the best, most successful companies will really will not only surround themselves with great people, but will heavily, heavily weigh the information they're getting from their advisory group. And the ones that don't, they generally don't do as well.
So I want to follow up with this because I'm actually currently listening, I guess, to the Steve Jobs autobiography, and people say he was really good at getting the right people in the right spots. So the question is here, how do you, I guess, find the right people to build as your team or your team of advisors? How do you find those right people?
Well, I think part of it is you want to, I always want to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I want to surround myself with people that have skill sets you can't teach. I want to surround myself with successful folks. And, and ultimately, I think it's also about knowing yourself, meaning I know what I'm good at. I know my unique ability. And so if I surrounded myself with people that just had my unique ability, we wouldn't be very successful. But I want to surround myself with people that do other things that I can't do and complement my team. It doesn't matter if as an example, as I get older, technology starts to get away from me a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So I do my very best to stay as up to date as I can for somebody that's not 25 years old. But I also make sure that I have, forget 25-year-old people. I want to have 15-year-old people around me because they know a lot more about technology than 25-year-old people. It's already beyond the face. So I always try to have somebody in my world that is on the cutting edge of technology and keep them between me and technology.
That's smart because technology is always changing, and this is something I was talking about with someone recently. Was the information that we're able to access now, it's only getting like exponential, and the rate at which we can learn it is only getting faster. So I mean, might as well like use it to your advantage and learn things, other skill sets, and develop skill sets that are valuable to you. So on this end, just a thought I had, so I think as someone that's like, let's say they're starting out their career, how would they have to develop some skills to be valuable, right? Like what we said at the beginning, you have to create value. So at what point do you kind of outsource it and say, hey, I'm going to let you like build a team with that person, say, hey, you're really good at this, do this, or develop your own?
You said it at the very outset of our interview or the podcast is, and I would say it a little bit different way. You have the best research in the world. It's called all the people that are in your world that you said, I learned from all my podcast guests.
That's true.
And I'm setting myself so you, by creating this podcast, is hopefully not only creating an interesting, entertaining conversation to the people that follow you and watch you, but at the same time for you, it's about being in creation and fascination and learning mode every day. And so the idea is that just asking powerful questions and listening to folks. I always say we have the best research in the world. It's called our clients. And I am in learning mode every single day in terms of, and then using those strategies and techniques and maybe even taking them to the next level and then providing that value to people. I'm in constant and never ending improvement.
I didn't even realize that. Thank you. But yeah, that constant state of learning, it's important, and you need to do that. But I guess it's more of so.
So you asked for a young person, though. You were saying,
yeah, like more for context. Like my biggest, I guess you could say, weakness is I get distracted very easily. Like I'll see a new piece and I'll be like, oh, I could do that, and then it's kind of like you get started off those first 3 months and you're like, oh, like I can do this. But then, right, you hit that plateau and you realize you know nothing about it. And so when's like the point where it's like, okay, should I just develop this new skill set? Like I'm fascinated by this. Or should I like outsource it? If I was like building a company, for example, like outsource it to someone else because they're just better at it. They have a higher skill set.
Well, I think part of it is there's a lot of tests out there. The Kolbe test, Kathy Kolbe says Kolbe. There's the DISC profile. There's enneagrams. There's a Briggs Myers. There's Myers-Briggs or something. There's a lot of those techniques, but part of it is I think you need to know who you are, so you can surround yourself with other people. So when we hire somebody, we want to know what their critical skill set is. You not only, as Jim Collins says, you not only have to get the right people on the bus, you have to get them in the right seats going forward. And I think the other thing is, it's great to have motivation, the rah-rah speech, getting people all pumped up. But I will tell you that lasts for about an hour. I think what successful people know is it's about discipline. And discipline that you're showing up every day, ready to play full out. And it's focus, being able to focus and not get distracted. One of the things I pride myself on is not letting other people take me off course. And if they take me off course, I'm going to get right back on course and stay as focused as I need to be. And then I think the last thing is, although you want to be in creation and fascination mode, there is an element in business of falling in love with the mundane. Being able to say, like people have said, sometimes you've been accused of doing something the same way every time. And I'm saying, so you have something that works every time. So you want to change that. Why?
That's fair.
Meaning, so part of it is to get to something that works. It doesn't make any sense, to me. And so I think that's what I think I would focus on. I also think I'd focus on mentors. Remember, my favorite book right now, and probably one of the 5 best books I've ever read, was a book called Who Not How. And it described our business on a couple of levels. And so the question I get asked, Josh, probably in some version, one way or another, is how do I grow my income? How do I grow my business? How do I grow my freedom of time, take more time off to do what I want to do? How do I grow my freedom of relationships to work with the people I want to work with? Or how do I grow my freedom of purpose to have this very purposeful, fulfilling life? It's wrapped up in one of those questions. So I'm one person and you're one person. So if I say, how do we do that? It's pretty daunting. And so what I would say to a young person is the right question is not how, but who do we need to collaborate with to grow our income, our business, our freedom of relationship, freedom of time, freedom of purpose? And so can we find great who's in our life and of people that will be who's for likely, and they'll be who's for us. And now we have an army of people. And the thing that I would just say to a person is, to a young person, would be, don't spend weeks or months or even years. But if you have decades of pouring into other people and helping other people, you will eventually build a network and an army of people that want to do the same for you. And that's how you build a successful business and a successful life.
I love that. So relationships is the key here, and building.
Remember, Josh, I have to tell you that, we talked about technology a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. You still need to have people skills. I think everybody who's younger folks all they want to do is text each other everything and order it on an app. And my argument is, it's that little extra piece. It's the relationship skills. It's how do you get people to say, wow, I want to work with Josh rather than with Joe or Fred. And and part of it is that little extra piece. Sometimes it's that, because people don't pick up their phone half the time. It's calling their cell phone to just follow up on something, to let them know you cared a little bit. Hey, I just wanted to make sure that happened. And in our office, if you make a mistake, I'll always defend your mistake because I make mistakes all the time. But if you make a hustle mistake, I want to put a reign of terror on you. And so the idea is, if I owe you something, I want to pick up the phone and say, hey, Josh, it's Monday afternoon. I have not heard back from those people. But if I don't hear by the end of the day tomorrow, I'm going to call you back. And you go, wow, these guys are on top of it. As opposed to you calling me tomorrow afternoon, have not heard anything, go, what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
I think some people like, or text are so impersonal. Email is almost dead. Email's like, that's going to be like the fax machine,
Yeah.
in a few years. And it's text and it's other forms of communication that will replace text. But I think nothing can be replaced by that human contact. And, and sometimes it's Zoom like this, or where it can be not only a communication device, but a transportation device. But it's really, in life, is you take a look at it. If the people who like you, Josh, you generally tend to like. The people that don't like you tend not to like. Very few people like people that don't like them, unless you're a real masochist. And so the idea is, how do you transform that relationship so that you're different than everybody else in their world, not just another guy who sent them an email or a text?
I like that you mentioned that email and text, it's just not right. It's not personalized. I think that's what ultimately a lot of people desire is essentially, I mean, just talking in terms of business, this is kind of my theory, is people want customized things for just them, right? That work for them. And I think it's also the same with relationships as well. I mean, I could be wrong, but they want to know, like, hey, let me take a step back. It's almost like, it's not like I'm two-faced or whatever, but when you're around different people, you behave in a different way. Does that kind of make sense? And the questions you may ask, the things you may do may be different. And I find that, sorry, you're really challenging my brain here. I'm curious though, why you thought email would be dead. Like, because I still think it's
because I think
relevant.
that people under 35 or 40 don't obsessively check their email. They'll check their texts. They don't answer their phones. They don't check their voicemail. They don't check their email. They'll check texts or social media. And so the idea is that if you're in a rapid paced world, and we're on a real time basis, you need to be in a communication system where people can get instantaneous information back and forth, like you do with text, as opposed to, there's a lot of people with their voicemail. There's a lot of people that intentionally clog up their voicemail on their phone so it's full, so nobody can leave a message. They do the same thing with email. I mean, people don't, want to be found. So how do you get with people that do that? That I think is an issue. I think also with relationships, it's like you want to, I think it's gotten so impersonal that I think that much of the vitriol that we have in this world for each other is as a result of people hiding behind social media, hiding behind text, hiding behind things. It's, you can insult me on an email or a text or on voicemail. I'm 6'2", I'm 250 pounds, and still at my age, I can whip your ass. Say that to my face, exactly. Or, and by the way, let's not be so bravado or such a tough guy. Nobody tells you no to your face. Nobody can be a jerk to you. They're afraid to, not that it can't, but it almost never happens, as opposed to the stuff that people say about each other on social media, and these echo chambers or these other things. And, I think that the idea is that, part of it is it's not just in this world to just make a lot of money and have a successful business or a successful company. I think, at least for me, I want to be around a group of people that want to change the lives of everybody they touch for the better. Mm-hmm. I want to create a bigger, better world, a bigger, better future for everybody. I want to create something where there's something synergistic where we can do things better together than we can apart to leave this place better than we found it. And I think so many people are spending so much time just being negative, ripping people apart, being so territorial. I don't see how that's good for our country. It's good for the world. It's good for anything.
I agree. I really do. And yeah, you start diving into some of those comment sections of videos. I'll admit some of them are funny, but some of them it's just like, dude, like they're very insulting and it doesn't benefit anyone. It's like, why? And the person that's posting also, right, they probably will read that and it's like, again, right, there's that barrier. Whereas if it was in real life, you would never say anything like that. That's just, it wouldn't happen. And yeah. So how would we, I guess, maybe incentivize more kind of real things. I mean, even though we're talking here through a screen, but kind of more real, like in person.
Well, I think part of it is that I've become such a big believer in that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, just like one good apple can be a game changer. Maybe apple's not the right analogy with a good apple, but the idea is that I've always tried to hire people that are smarter than I am. I've always tried to hire people, though, also that had my core values, that people that wanted that if you're like I just said to you, one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to improve the lives of 100 million people on this planet. I picked 100 million people just because a round number. It could have been 10 billion. It could have been 10 million. It's irrelevant. I just sort of as a stalking pace. And so I want to be around people that share those same goals. There's a lot of people who say, I've got some people that say, screw people that want to help anybody else. I just want to help me. Those are probably not the people that I want to spend my time with. Those folks. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that those are not the people that I because remember, the one thing we all have, no matter how rich or how poor or how smart or how stupid you are, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. We cannot change time. So it's about quality time and quality time left. And so, for everybody. And so that's the kind of ecosystem that I'm there. And so when you say a bad apple is you bring somebody into that world, they're like a cancer in terms of slowly chipping away at the message of what you're doing because everybody's not on the same page. Just like somebody can come into your life. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe it's somebody you go to school with. And all of a sudden go, oh my God, that's the path. We can do this. They can inspire me to go do something. I mean, look at the famous one is Roger Bannister when they thought in the 1950s that a human could not run a mile in under 4 minutes and it had never been done. And I think he did it. And I think in the next 2 months, there was like 9 or 11 people that broke the 4-minute barrier once he was done, once he thought it was possible. Then the game and the ante started to raise. And in my own business, I've had a study group that we've been together for a little over 30 years. And in the beginning, we were just a bunch of young guys who just kind of liked each other and hung out together and were all still dear friends. Mm-hmm. But the idea is it was a think tank that allowed us to just think bigger and think bigger. And as a group, we thought bigger as a group collectively than we did individually, and everybody had a better life and a more successful future and became better, not only made more money, but became better husbands and better fathers and better people because the group inspired each other to be your very, very best because the core values of that group was that. It wasn't core values about, hey, let's make as much money and screw as many people as we can, or let's do this or that or something. It was a group that coalesced around creating a bigger, better future for everybody we touched.
I like that. I really do like that. And that just reminded me, even just recently, I like to just, this is a little different, but I like to work out. It's something I love doing. And I found that, and every morning I'll just go run or work out by myself. But then one day I stumbled upon these group of guys that was also working out. And they're like, hey, just come work out with us. And in the past 2 months, it's like the amount of, even just like they'll push you to the point where it's like, man, I didn't even think I could do this. And now all of a sudden you're doing it. And it's like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even think this was, like, I was capable of this. And that's something I'm actually continually like trying to learn is it's not a bad thing to like share your ideas and share your thoughts in a group setting because they're going to offer their opinion, their honest thoughts, and they're going to give you even just a better way to maybe get it done. And yeah, I'm working on that and trying to put myself in situations where they'll challenge my thoughts, if that kind of makes sense. But I find that just being in a group of people with a same goal in mind, a similar goal in mind, can help you get there faster, and you enjoy it because you have someone to talk to while you get it done. And that's
the other thing I would also say, Josh, is that the thing that I prize is you must read. reading. The smartest people I know are the most voracious readers. And so I am constantly reading. I'm on a plane a lot. So I prize that as my time to either write or to read or to think, because the rest of the time I've got 5 kids. I'm running like a lunatic. I've got obligations, out the wazoo. And so that's my time. Or, I have a place in Palm Beach at the beach. And so, that's my time when I get away to be able to go do the reading, but I'm constantly reading. And the other thing is that I also think you need to take a look at in terms of, who you spend your time with, meaning, I'm not saying you shouldn't hang out with your high school buddies that I used to play basketball with, but, if those guys are not, are still doing the same stuff they were doing in high school, doing a lot of drinking and, and not being too motivated and that kind of stuff. It's not that you shouldn't try to lift them up, but at the end of the day, that's not the place that I choose to be, where people don't have that motivation. I want to be around people that are looking to make a difference in the world. And so, that you want to spend your time around those people. You want to take a look at those relationships and do those relationships serve you? Do you want to be around negative people? Do you want to be around people that, that tell them you can't, or do you want to be around people that inspire you and make you become your greatest self? And, that's what I always tell my kids. And, I would think that, my oldest son who works for us, Lucas, one of his greatest strengths to me, and I think he's got a lot, is that he's got great friends. Great friends make a difference. And, he didn't seek them out because he was looking to get something from us, and organically came together over the course of his life. And he seems to pick up good people around him. And I think that's propelled him to start to think about, how to have the life that he wants to have.
That's cool. So choose good friends. I think I like that. I do.
I mean, it's amazing. I don't know if you've ever had a crazy girlfriend or, been in a bad relationship, but if you're with the wrong person, that can spiral your whole life down pretty damn quickly. Just like if you have the right support system or the right girlfriend, it can take you to a place that, where both parties can do better together than they could apart. I mean, isn't that the essence of synergy? I think most people think 1 + 1 = 2, but in many relationships, 1 + 1 = like 1 1/4. You want 1 + 1 to = 3 or 4 or 5. So you're getting that. Are you getting synergy in those relationships? And again, you're not going in there looking for that. You're going in it because you want to organically be with a group of people, whether it be in your personal or business life, that have your core values and are going where you want to go.
I like that. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. I've loved this, and you've helped me a lot, and I know those that are listening, you also helped them a lot in shaping the way that they even approach relationships and even go out and try and live a life that's meaningful and that they enjoy, and hopefully go make a difference. And I do think that most people, they do want to change the world and put it for the better.
This third book I wrote and came out a couple of months ago was number 1 on Amazon. It's called The Ultimate Investment. But I believe that everybody on this planet has the opportunity to create multi-generational wealth. And the idea is creating multi-generational wealth. It's great to have wealth, but the idea is it's really about having abundance, because ultimately when you create multi-generational wealth, you have the ability to affect so many other people's lives. When people that just have enough, I find, Josh, are so selfish because they have just enough for them, nothing for anybody else. And abundant people and people that create multi-generational wealth have the ability to be much more impactful. And so that's one of the many reasons that I've spent my business life helping people create multi-generational wealth.
That's awesome. So if people want to reach out to you and get a session with you or plan their life essentially with you, what's the best way that they can reach out to you, find you?
They can email me at mark_Murphy@northeastprivate.com, and just mention that they're a friend of yours, Josh.
Oh no, yeah.
So I'd be happy to talk to them. And the other thing too is, as I said, I'm always happy to continue this discussion offline, because obviously you I can already tell that your core values align with mine. And I know that you're out there, with this podcast and the other things you're doing, making a difference. And you always want to support people that want to make a difference in the other people's lives like you do. So thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. All right, as you can tell, that is Mark Murphy. He's a very intelligent person, has great things to share. I challenge you guys, if anything piqued your interest or if you're interested in working with Mark, to reach out to him. I know that he's open to it and he wants to surround himself with people that have the same goals and same values in mind. Stay tuned till next week. We have a great guest lined up for you guys. See you guys next week, and let's get after it. Hey everyone, if you liked this episode and would like to hear more, be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button. We release a new episode every Wednesday for you guys to listen to. Thank you guys so much for the support that you give. We could not have done this without you guys. If you would like to be a potential guest on the show, check out intelligentconvos.com and fill out the form there. Thank you guys again, and let's get after it.